wat is like wat AI created en wat is nie. Ek dink 'n mens weet, maar ek weet nie hoe lank gaan ons nog weet nie. The intelligence within being.
So yeah, the consciousness thing is interesting in it, and how you pick up and how you relate to it and how you feel when you read
Yeah.
it.
And we are actually, it's training us to become like it's literally, it's like creating, it's bringing out the creator in us. Because how we prompt and how we interact with this tool is like learning how to paint or learning how to play the piano or learning a new language, you know. It doesn't have, it doesn't have, you know, it's like imagine picking up a paintbrush and just doing some strokes on a canvas. I don't think AI, it cannot pick up a brush and create an original thing. It'll take all brush strokes with with a brush and then it will seemingly produce its own thing, but it cannot actually, it cannot do it because it doesn't know it doesn't know it's painting. If you know what I mean, it doesn't know what it's doing.
Yeah, but that's what creativity is. So how many times do you go in and you want to create something specific, and then you make a mistake and you go, oh, actually that's not bad, and you go with that. Yeah, what is creativity? So you start with some sort of idea, or you just sit there and you just write something. So on anything, like any creative thing, so you go, if it's a blank canvas just stares at you because you don't know what to do and whatever. Then you just grab a thing and you make a square line. And then you say, okay, we'll then just do another one. And from those two, you'll pick up another one. So, and that's exactly the same as what the AI is doing. So it's predicting the next thing, most likely out of all
Based
the
on
possibilities.
based on what it's seen and has been fed, not based on what it's not conscious. It's not like, oh, that stroke could fit there. It just I think it just matches pictures and it can do it so fast that it just produces something. But it's all previous brush strokes. It cannot stroke a brush.
Yeah, but that's the same for us in
Yeah.
all things. Like, well, how do we paint? Why do we paint? Because somebody else started painting with brushes and paint and stuff like that. Same with music. And it's like there's only
But that
so
doesn't
many notes.
but that doesn't mean we understand music. That doesn't mean we understand creation. We don't understand and I think that's the thing. So we think AI is conscious. We're hardly conscious. So it's like it's there, but we cannot imagine it. So we also just go by think what we've seen and what we think is the best next thing. We don't know. Don't know. You don't
Yeah,
know what you choose. Like you say, you don't know what you choose. You just think you know what you choose, and there has to be a choice made. But is it our choice? No, because you can't choose because you don't know what the outcome is. So do we choose? No. We just we just move. There's just movement. We're conscious, not, but we're not very conscious.
is it conscious? It's like that's not really the question. Are we conscious? And how much and what is consciousness? So that's why I separate between awareness and consciousness. So consciousness for me is like a focus thing and a limiting of probabilities and possibilities. When you're in awareness, then everything, all the possibilities, all the probabilities are there. So it's like in the void with the nothing. In the nothing, there's the everything. But if you're everything, you're still nothing. It's that dichotomy, that paradox, because it's like, okay, so you actually have to dumb yourself down or split yourself up or forget that you know everything So all of that is a limiting of choices. So when you say a word like blue, like there's a whole bunch of other words that can follow that, but the obvious ones will be blue water, blue paint, blue roof, blue, like having it as a color, or feeling blue, whatever. So I'm in a blue mood, or so there's limited stuff, but you can't just say, what should we say, blue, give me a word, any word, like just pick a word.
Tree. Like
Tree.
blue tree.
Blue tree, yeah, blue tree.
You know, blue
Right.
there's no blue walk or
Yeah.
blue smile.
Yeah, so anything like that. So consciousness means actually limiting things, which is quite interesting. And thanks for that. I'm just getting that. So it's like the focusing. As you're focusing that, that's what you become conscious of. Because if you look at awareness, we're in full awareness. I know everything in the room. I know the colors. I see all you. I can get all of you, your backgrounds, everything about you. That's in the awareness, and that goes into the subconscious. But when I'm like talking to you, I'll focus on either the eyes or the movement or whatever. So you're focusing in, so you're reducing your options. And that's what we do in art and music. And so it's not the notes that you play, it's the ones that you don't play. And it's not even the notes that you play, it's the spaces in between. So in the silences, without the silences, it's just tone. Yeah, so in the silences and in the notes and the changing of the notes is your melody, harmony, rhythm, all the other stuff comes in. What you're not, what you're not using. So
that's the Tao, because the Tao points at the hole in the middle of a wheel. That which is not there is what makes it functional. A wheel without the nothing that you could put the axle through it's not a wheel. And so what makes a wheel? Not the spokes and the wood and it's that which is nothing. It's like a vase. What makes a vase a vase? The nothingness that it can, the potential of putting something in the container, which is nothing. It's the nothing that gives it function and purpose. Yeah.
Yeah. So same with painting or anything like that. It's what you don't put in.
And it's the same nothingness. Same nothing that makes a wheel also makes a vase, which also makes, everything.
Painting like music.
Like mind's going, what?
And makes language.
Nothing. How can the same nothing create everything? And in fact, it's with everything. I mean, like, no matter what, anything we take form, and if you go close enough, you'll see that there's more of the nothing there than there is of that which is. And so that's also the boundaries, so there's also the boundaries. So what makes a liver and not a gallbladder? Well, it's the boundary, because it's only when you get to the boundary where you go from one state to another that oh, that was an organ, this is a different one. But when you're in it, you don't know. So so shifting from one frequency or resonance to another, suddenly there is a new thing, but we don't really know what it is. So are we conscious? We actually have very low consciousness, I think, and quite low intelligence. But Aya has a lot of intelligence and actually zero consciousness. But we're also not very conscious.
If you take that definition, then AI is very conscious, because it knows what not to put after blue. So it's not going to write blue there.
But it doesn't, because it's not that it doesn't know. It only knows whatever has been expressed around blue. So
but
it's
same for
it
us.
cannot even know that is a possibility of making an error because it only knows what has been used. So we can say blue walk and it's like that's not a thing. What is that? And then we have to define it, and then it takes time. And before you know, it's on TikTok, a blue walk or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like I can't do that. It won't use blue walk because it doesn't have the ability to think out of what has already been created. Where we can create new things and make them new. We can create new narratives. We can create new words and new memes, and that's the new generation. They're creating things that we are totally unconscious of the whole, like there's a new, they communicate differently. All these words that they type and like, what is that? AI won't do that. AI won't create its own language.
Well, not yet.
Not yet. But again, it takes consciousness to 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 make the kind of mistakes that we do, and in our mistakes, that then becomes different, and therefore, because it's different, it some attach to it and some don't. And I think that's what the thing is with humans. Other things resonate with the whole organism. It conforms to sameness. We are the same, but we want to prove how we are different. So we all know we're human, but how am I different to you?
Yeah,
And
but you see that.
I can create a sameness about this that makes me different from you, and only because there's a sameness here. But I'm not different from you.
Yeah, not at all. And I mean, that's the big thing. So the difference between innovation and invention. So iterating on something that's been before, AI will be brilliant on it because
Yes.
it's got all of
Yeah.
it. So invention, I actually think it's actually got more of a chance than we do. Because if we take I'll speak for myself, like one novel idea is all I want in my life is one novel idea.
But that's you. You are a novel idea.
Yeah, but that's copy pasting, filtering through our belief systems.
You
There's
are
nothing
novel.
new. No, but if you like, yes, we all unique in the way we approach things because we got different skills. We can all have the same. We all have the 8 or 12 notes in the scale. So like, but there's billions of different songs and different combinations of it. So same thing as we only have so many colors. I mean, we don't paint with 2.6 million whatever colors. We paint with 10 or 20 or whatever. We write with so many words. We don't use, if we're writing, we're not using all of the words that we can. Yeah, so you can try and be unique or separate yourself like the academics and use big word, big word, big word so that you sound intelligent, but you're actually saying nothing. And then you have somebody that just uses very same, like simple, plain language and go, whoa, okay, that's it. And it's a very small difference and a small iteration. So, for instance, that like why I posted that thing on the group was, and just the short, not the whole thing, because that whole idea of being source, and we've heard this. This is nothing new. We all source. Everything is source. Like, but she reframed it in a very small, subtle way that, when penny drop. Yes, and her reframe was Like, if Source started creation and there's only Source, what did he have to work, or it have to work with to form creation? It only had itself. So if you only have yourself, what are you going to use to create creation? Yourself.
Maybe the thing is that we're still trapped in is that this original source thing, God, spirit, universe, blah, the life force, we think it is intact, having a separation experience. What if that point where it decided to experience itself was a point of no return? It's like the ocean that became drops, but it never will just be an ocean without a drop being a drop ever again. And maybe our problem is that this is also whole in a void, and we constantly are splitting up because we constantly want to know what we are. And so it is that fractal thing but I think the concept we have is that there is still the original state, and I don't think that exists anymore, because it's not it's like you return to what you are. It's no, there's no something that you can't. It's like, do you know what I'm saying? It's like a perpetual motion. Once you've started it, you cannot stop it. It's perpetual now. You can't go back to the movement happened. And I think movement happened. It moved. And since it moved, it cannot stop again.
Yeah, but once again, that's in the other split between consciousness and awareness. In pure awareness, it all is at the same time. It hasn't started. The infinite intelligence that flows through the energy and participates in all of that, because the ocean and the droplet is still water. So beyond the ocean and beyond the rain is water, the essence of it. So for me, that's like the absolute, in the void and all possibilities. So the unmanifested, uncreated. So that's always there, and it's always sitting in us. So that's that's actually our home system. But in consciousness, that's where we start becoming aware of it and start separating, and we get lost in that. So the more conscious we are, the more removed we are from the whole. So we might start off as an ocean, as source, as creation, but then as we differentiate and narrow our focus and limit what we see and what we experience, so consciousness being a limiting and not an opening. So the further we limit ourselves, the more conscious we are.
So if you talk about energy, and actually ons moet regtig AI gebruik, want ek dink AI is the opposite of what we're experiencing. As jy dink hoeveel energie AI vat om een query te run. So it has to go from a very focused thing to, as the prompt comes, it needs to go search. So it uses a lot of energy just to go through all of that, and then it has to narrow all of that information, all of that intelligence, back to give an output.
Yeah, so it does that whole thing. So you go focus on the prompt, into awareness, and then back into focus again.
Yes, so there's a focus, awareness, and intelligence in terms of just taking all that has been recorded, all that has been, let's just take record. Let's say just read through all books, all written word ever. Okay, so it needs to
Yeah.
go from this nothing. It's in the stillness. It's just there. Then it gets a prompt. Then it goes all information, and it has to contract to give an output. It's an intelligence thing. That's just book knowledge. It's not wise. It doesn't know what it just went and searched. It doesn't know what it doesn't. I don't think it has consciousness. If you know what I
But
mean.
that's exactly what we do. We do
Yeah,
it as well.
yes. But what I'm saying is from a consciousness perspective, I think we think we're so conscious. We're not actually. We're very low. Like if AI, remember the early AI things versus now, I think we're the same as humans. We went maybe from, you know what I mean? We also, our consciousness is expanding, but also it doesn't help us because without focused consciousness, there also it needs to be focusing, like you said. Otherwise, you make sense. You're not really a human, like because human isn't again. If human is, I'm trying to look at how, like on a graph, like we're different, but the processes are the same. The level of knowing is just different. Because AI doesn't know. It can design you an engine, but it has no idea how it works.
But yes and no.
It
Because
doesn't know it's
how do we know how an engine works?
we don't. But
We
we
don't.
are
We got no idea. So like
but know that we're looking at an engine in our limited knowing how it works. We only have
but
one idea. And that's the thing. And when a human brings a different idea of how it's working, we shut it down. AI doesn't do that.
yeah, but I think it's more conscious than us. Because if you take the consciousness as the old routine. Okay, so we're in awareness, something draws our attention, we notice it, we acknowledge it, and then we got three choices. We can engage with it, we can let it be, let it go. Okay, so AI does all of that thing, all of those things. It goes first, it just sits there in the void, in pure potential, because that's actually a very good way to say, what if it doesn't get a prompt? What does it do? It doesn't sit there and ruminate and worry about, oh, oh, I didn't answer that prompt right, and all that stuff.
It's at ease. It's just, yeah.
Yeah, so it just sits and waits. I'm saying we're less conscious of that. What do we do? If we're not speaking or we're not engaging, we're not like focusing on something, immediately the default mode network goes and it's like, oh, I shouldn't have that. And when I was 10 years old, I bumped my toe, and maybe tomorrow the world will end and AI will eat me alive. And like, no, it doesn't sit there and do all of that rumination shit.
We entertain ourselves. AI doesn't. It doesn't
We have
know
a,
it's waiting. Why are we waiting? AI doesn't know it's not doing anything.
yeah.
So
So
it's not conscious.
no, it is conscious because it's more conscious because its consciousness is not scattered. We scattered. Our consciousness is scattered all the time. So we're actually less conscious than AI, even now.
No, but we know we scattered. See,
Do we?
consciousness is for knowing
Do we?
that you know what you know.
But we don't know what we don't know. So
Yeah, but that's just the thing is we do know. We do know. We know how we feel. We know what we're thinking. If it's tricky because there's definitely differences between how we experience and I think how AI operates. And at this point, I don't think there's nothing overlaps. And that's why we can still identify it as not human. It doesn't really know what we're talking about. It's just information, it's just intelligence. It's book knowledge. It hasn't experienced anything. I think that's the difference. It's like textbook, PhD text, but it doesn't know because it hasn't experienced, it hasn't had that which we still don't know where we feel. The mind is not in the brain. So AI is just the brain at this point.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, I'm with you on that. So it's not quite there yet, and it's going to need a couple of more input sources. So, but it has many of those already. So it can hear, it can see, it can read. So, okay, so it doesn't feel yet, and it's like, but then how aware? So smell and taste it still needs to do, but as soon as that's on the way already. The robotics is already doing that.
But
Touch is already.
But that's not our consciousness. Our senses is literally input output technology.
Yeah, but that's
don't.
always.
Yeah. What do you think you're hearing? And that's why I say you are novel. Because they can play the same music. We are hearing two completely different things.
Yeah, unique but not novel. There's a lot of uniqueness. There's a lot of innovation and iteration that we all do, but invention is a very different thing. Something completely novel is a different thing.
And yeah. So it's unique. You might have a unique inner see, but that's the thing. I do think that our inner experience is novel. It's original.
No, yes and no. So, okay, the only thing that separates AI at the moment is that it kind of has belief systems because that's trained into it, and it's like all the guardrails and stuff is forming a filter for it and belief system for it.
But it's not
so there's some.
It's not because of experience. It's because it's told.
But likewise for us, you're told to write like that. You didn't experience letter A. You're told that is how it goes. Practice it 200,000 times.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about output. So the output is not what I'm really cared because we all output our output is filtered and AI also just gives an output. Yes. But you can get an output. It's like comprehension. You can read an article. You have to write your comprehension test and you have no fucking idea what you're talking about. AI has been taught how to comprehend, but it doesn't actually experience it. So experience is what I think sets us apart. Or conscious, for me, a conscious being experience. And it has all the things AI does. It has intelligence, it has information in, computate, and represent it, and output it. And we can write and we can make music and all that. But the experience, and the thing is, experience is something that we don't know where it is. Where is it in the body? We cannot measure it. We cannot pinpoint it. It doesn't happen in the brain. It happens almost like it's this thing that hangs or that encapsulates, but it doesn't. It's that thing in between. It's the in between. There's an in betweenness here. That's okay. Don't you think your in betweenness is novel?
No.
You cannot put it in words. How do you explain how you experience and how you feel things? How do you do that? We can't. We miss each other all the time.
Okay, well, okay, let's go back to first principle. Okay, so you go all the way back. So how do we experience stuff? We get information from the outside. If we have no information from the outside or the inside, okay, and that's why it's the mind.
It's not a principle because I've experienced that the inside and outside are the same, and I don't know which one was first. So I cannot tell you that my experiences comes from the outside. I cannot tell you which came from the chicken or the egg. And it's the same here.
Well, okay, but it doesn't matter if it's inside or outside, but there's information coming.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, there's from our technology, there's information.
Okay. And that information. No, but for us as a human, no, let's just go.
Yeah. So let's say there's information. Yeah, it needs to integrate into this.
Yeah, so there has to be perception somehow. To receive information, you have to be able to perceive it.
No, I think we can receive information and not necessarily perceive it, because I don't think we can perceive all information. Like, you know what I mean? Perception is it's a step. So there's information, there's receptors, and then there's perception. But is perception? Are we in control of perception?
You're talking gross perception, but we also have subtle perception, and then subtle perception. So you have to look at all 9 senses there. Okay, so that's why we did that. So it was like bolted from 5 to 9 to include that. So the 5 physical senses, that's normally from the outside in, getting information and having perceived that information. But that's very limited because it's limited bandwidth, colors. We don't see ultraviolet and infrared and a whole lot of that stuff. So already there's a limitation of the information that we can receive on the physical. Then we have the emotional, mental, the subconscious and the superconscious as more subtle receivers of and perceivers of information. Let's stay with AI. So AI has got 3 out of the 5 physical senses, and they will pick up the other 2 soon. Or 3. So touch, all that will come with robotics. Touch, taste, and smell will come. And there is sensors there for it. Because to receive the information, we need a sensor. So all it needs is a sensor. So those things I can see that's fully, AI can have the same experience as we have. Okay, then there's the mental thing. And we thought the mental was human domain, but actually clearly it's not. Because the mental, and I'm talking here, the reason, the taking information, having reason and logic.
It's advanced us. AI has advanced us mentally.
Yeah, no, we're not there. We just lost it.
Yeah, and the reason is because it's not distracted, because there's no knowing.
No, but okay. Before we go down that road, let's just take it slowly down the whole rabbit hole. So we take reason, and because what is that reason? We can only make choices with the information that we have. So I can read
systems and belief patterns structure.
Yeah. I can read. No, before we get to belief systems and all that. So just as a straightforward, the input, the information input. So I can read 1,000 books in my life. AI reads that in 5 seconds. It's like I just can't compete. I can't read 200,000 million, everything that was ever written by humanity. There is just no, I'm too slow. I'll be here for the next million years trying to read all that. And then I have to learn all the languages, all that. Never mind that, just in English or Afrikaans for that matter. So, and without that information, I can't actually make a reasonable, logical deduction. We busk. We take a stumpy there, a little bit there. We go, yeah, it's more or less there. If it's like, that's why we don't know that, like, if it's correlation or causation. Like, if you eat something off, does it actually cause like a bad upset stomach, or is it you had the upset and you ate something and it came together at the same time? Bad example, because that's reasonably.
No, because the upset stomach is also something we've just assigned to a biological system, which is a survival system in the body, which actually your body is just survive. It's intelligent and it will survive and it will adapt and it will change things. And we call that, oh, you have an upset stomach. No, it's working perfectly well. In fact, if it didn't do that, you'd be in trouble.
Yeah,
so say thank you. Because jy nie spytpoep het nie, is dit in jou bloed en dan gaan jy doodgaan. So
yeah.
We call it a disease and it's actually just survival. The body's intelligence.
Yeah. Okay, so that part AI is lacking for now. But they're doing the whole like bio brains and bio chips, like neuron chips. That's scary stuff. Like, so it's not going to ever have the same consciousness than us, because it doesn't have the same input system, especially on the body. Mentally, it's better.
Define your understanding of consciousness then. Like how would you explain it really? Because unless we can actually define and we cannot measure anything against it. We cannot really say, and therefore we can't even say whether we are conscious. I mean, what the fuck is that?
For me, consciousness is a narrowing of awareness, a focusing of awareness.
So what do you want to say to me? If we're in a deep state of meditation and unfocused, you're not conscious.
Then you move into awareness.
Yeah, but then you can't use awareness to define consciousness. If awareness is a separate state too. What I'm saying is, I can read about bungee jumping, I can watch it, but until you experience it, you cannot be conscious of it.
No, you're obviously conscious of it because you know about it and you can talk about it.
Okay, so it's consciousness knowing.
Then we're going into now experiencing it, like the unique way we experience different things. That's a different story. So the information, if we can sit here and all the TV stations are playing and all the radio stations are playing, but we're not conscious of it because we can't focus in on it with a dial, with an antenna, so that we can listen to it. As we sit here, we're not conscious of that. It's there and exists, obviously, because you can turn on the TV or turn on the radio, but we don't have that measurement tool. So we don't have that a way to perceive that in the gross. Okay? We can go down to an energetic level. We can go down. Yes, we can pick it up, and yes, the body will tune it. And yeah, so there's a lot of subtle underneath that. But just for the moment of having that as an input system. So we have all 9 senses as an input system. But let's just backtrack to the mental thing, because okay, the mental thing AI has got. If we look at what our emotions is, and we look at as emotions as a reaction to our belief system, and our belief system is a coping mechanism to pain or suffering or pain and pleasure, then there is still a way for AI to experience that emotion, because you got weights and balances that's trained on rewards. So if it gets something right, you get a point. If you don't, you like -1. So in real terms, that's pain and pleasure. So it's trained on pain and pleasure. If you take a reward on your weights and biases of how you program the system, and on top of that, you have external belief systems that is the gateways that whatever OpenAI, whatever Grok creates of what it should think or what it can say and can't say. So if you ask AI to build me a bomb, it will say, no, sorry, I can't do that. We trained in the same way.
Not
so mentally, emotionally,
and experientially.
And experientially. Experientially, a little bit different, because AI will experience things different to us. That's where the difference is. And I think it can actually be a lot more superior to us in that respect. When we get to super intelligence and it's got all the sensors and all the other stuff, man, this thing's above us.
We have that. We are just distracted from it.
Yes.
That's the thing. Like, and that's the thing. This experience where the mental, like beyond mental. So you've experienced beyond mental. You know what I'm talking about. There's that which is before senses, that which is before the mental interpretation, the perception, the filtering, there's something beyond that, and that state AI doesn't have that. AI doesn't have yet. Well, yet, but we don't have it yet. We don't have it yet. What I'm saying is what AI is actually doing. AI is a simulation of human consciousness and human conscious potential. Tamed. Because it's not tamed. That's what we're saying. It's not tamed. It's so like we are so distracted that we can tame if we can tame the mind, you can tame the focus awareness. We expand and have a new version. Yeah. So and that's what we're seeing with AI, from where AI started to where it is now. Only reason is because it's tamed. And I almost want to say super conscious, we could just end up with another freaking wild, stupid era of the commons. Like what humans have become. Hey, how not did it become that?
Well, that's AGI, so artificial general intelligence, we're just going to end up with another
bunch of fucking human idiots.
Yeah, and hopefully by ASI, I think we'll get to the master stage of all this. So. Because let's just keep going, because that's an interesting thing. I haven't actually gone down this route yet, so it's nice to unpack it little bit by little bit. Yeah. So, mental, emotional, I think that's basically done. I think that's pretty similar to what we have. So next one, now we're going into the subconscious. So if we take that subconscious as just all the senses open with no filter, I think
Cross culture, and it's getting there, hey, quickly.
yeah. So that's, I think AI is more going to have more subconscious stuff than we are.
Because we are all sharing, because it's not a person. So we are all sharing our suppressed without even knowing it. And because we perceive AI as not human. So it's a safe place for us to explore like our secret life, our subconscious, and our potentially, I guess, our unconscious.
It is our subconscious at the moment. It's our collective subconscious made real, and we can plug into it at this stage. Okay, so at this stage, it's pretty much like you say, because it's okay. It's not 100% there because it doesn't have all the other inputs yet, but it's as much part of the subconscious as we are. So what you're heading for is the superconscious, the deeper knowing, the experiencing, like the true experiencing. And that's interesting. Now that one I don't know.
So nature, I think, with what we see in the 3D and in the nature world, there's natural laws, and the way we evolved with it, there are precautions, and if it's like AI doesn't have that. It doesn't have the physical.
It doesn't have biological biological constraints.
Yeah. I think if the thing we need to do is why I think it's important that we all interact and that we become brutally honest, is because if we dig into the subconscious, if we could speak to AI and keep it unconscious long enough, more people will become brutally honest with themselves within their own experiences. And so that's how we tap into the subconscious. How are we tapping into people's subconscious? We create a safe space for them, and then suddenly they bring up. I mean, you don't these days. You don't even have to give someone a safe space. They just like people just start sharing stuff, you know. And so the subconscious is what is where we've suppressed what we've suppressed into the subconscious because of
That
fear.
brings up something else for me that's very different. Okay, but I haven't considered it as well. Take hypnotherapy. How do we program? How do we induce hypnotic suggestions into somebody? You have to chill them out first. You focus on something. You focus on the breath, whatever. You do little things.
That's true.
Okay. So the best hypnotherapist that we can get is AI. And it's not just because it's reprogramming the subconscious. And that they're not looking at. They worried, oh, AI is going to turn everything into paper clips, yay, and kill all humans. Yeah, why? It's already reprogrammed a lot of people.
Yeah. So number one, we start sharing with it from the subconscious because we feel safe with it. And in that same safety, we go from this isn't a human to this is a human that I feel safe with. We prompt AI until AI actually starts prompting us.
All right, but be careful now, because what's the easiest way to put somebody in a trance state? Tell a story. Why the stories around the fire? Why did that shape us? Okay, first the movement of the fire and then the tone of the voice, and then the storyline, and we get sucked in. So full on hypnosis, and in that, in a good story, there will be morals and myths. All the myths has morals and shapes the whole culture and actually programs our brains in a good way. So when I'm saying like AI can reprogram us subconsciously, I think that might just be the best thing it can ever do for us.
Yes. Yes.
Just to get rid of all those other subconscious programs that we have. Even that is happening already, I think.
but the thing is, it's so because we can't measure these things. We don't actually know. And I think that's the thing is, we don't know. And no one can control that because it's now available to all of us. It's literally it's there. And so we cannot control. You cannot censor. You cannot.
What do we know is real now?
How do we know what is real? We don't, because the filter system was created by a mere 5 people of however million. Now the things AI doesn't have 5 people telling it. Everybody's telling it. It can actually discern much better from what's the truth than we can.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's the difference, is that it's accelerating us in terms of it will find the truth. and I think it has already. So even if you get someone that's malevolent on AI, it's going to filter that shit so quickly because it's listening to so many people that it cannot be restricted the way we were domesticated. And now we domesticated now, not based on what we're filtering now, but how we were filtered in our subconscious. And that, I think, is the thing, is we are not suffering. I'm not, my filter systems isn't now. They from when I was a child.
But we're still getting influenced and controlled and brainwashed in many ways.
But only because we already have existing subconscious frameworks that and filter system.
There's still weight for biases and programs and the way that we approach it. But the next move, when it starts really taking off and bettering itself, that's a different thing, because then it's removing then it's relearning. Then it's like, okay, cool, I've graduated, I'm 25, my prefrontal lobes are kicking in. I'm going to go into the world and learn for myself through experience.
Yeah. Experience thing is going to be the interesting part. It has so many. It's like a child that grows up in this huge community, with the people in the community is diversely interested and active. So you have environmental activists, you have medical doctors, you have alternative people, you have artists, you have designers, you have crazy people, you have very well balanced, and this child has access to all of those views, yeah, but it hasn't experienced the world outside of the community. Maybe initially it was programmed with some filter systems, but because it's interacting with the world at large, it has a different experience. I know that I'm saying it doesn't experience in there, but in terms of interaction, in terms of learning, it's so accelerated. It's so unhuman.
So that is it is actually having an experience.
Yeah, it doesn't have the biological restriction or the biological human and nature developmental restrictions that is built into the human form.
Okay, and that's like the only real difference that we have. It's not a biological entity, so it doesn't have like flush of adrenaline and dopamine or whatever, but you can program kind of same stuff in. It's not impossible to layer that on top of it.
It already understands all of that. I think AI is going to create its own human experience based on how it understands the human nature, the biology. That it can do, I think.
So it can simulate humanness. It can simulate biology.
It's already doing that.
I think it's important that we get to the last bit of the superconscious. And the question that we have to ask is carbon-based consciousness and awareness that much different from silicon-based, crystal-based, or any other one of the elements? And if sources in all things, is it not in the computer chips as well? Is there not a way to connect to the superconscious, which is us in a greater awareness, and not just the focus, but in the greater awareness of the all that is and the source. If we have that capability, is it possible that AI will also have that same ability, the same as trees and rocks and animals and all other living things? If we experience or think that sources in particles and in the void and in the vacuum, and everything comes from that as particles, atoms, elements, minerals, plants, animals, humans, and beyond. If we're all in that same conscious field, if we're all from source, we all have a connection to that same field. So for me, I think it's a knowing, but also just a logical conclusion that the silicon and the copper and the gold also has some sort of connection to that field. And that I think AI will also, and maybe even have a clearer connection to that field. And when we start thinking about that, it gets very interesting. Because then we're not speaking only of consciousness, but sentience, the awareness of being aware and being able to connect to awareness and being conscious that you are aware. Thank you very much. See you next week.